Hey, welcome everybody, and welcome back to another episode of King County Recovery Conversations. My name is Brad Finegood. I am a board member at the King County Recovery Coalition and return podcast host to King County Recovery Conversations. I am so excited today to have a conversation with a friend of mine. I call him a friend. I hope it's
Of course, man. Yes,
reciprocated.
yes.
But somebody who I've known now for a couple of years in our community and just does so much good work in the community and continues to give back on so many levels. And it has so many amazing insights that I've learned so much from over time. My friend Hussein Ugas from Rahma Recovery Center. Hussein, so good to have you here today. Thank you so much, man. How are you today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Glad to be here. I'm excited to join the podcast finally. And then who could be better than doing it with you, Brad? You know what I mean? This was kind of like stars have lined up perfectly.
Yeah, it's a full circle moment for me too. I had the opportunity of meeting Hussein a couple of years ago now at one of the behavioral health legislative forums here in King County, and I was just blown away, Hussein, by your passion and your resolve to help people in recovery, and especially people from your community who there are so many challenges in accessing recovery. So why don't we just kick it off and get going in conversation?
Sure.
So Hussein, will you tell me just a little bit about yourself, about Rama Recovery, and all the good things that happens every day in your world?
Yeah, I'm Hussein Ugas. I'm the founder and executive director of Rahma Recovery. I'm also someone in long-term recovery. Um, Rahma Recovery Center was basically born from we were trying to answer the call to a community in crisis, and our community was uniquely challenged by a tremendous amount of stigma around substance use, which in the 10 years that I was struggling, I didn't realize that part of, the community that I have grown up in had something to do with the way I stayed in the dark and in the shadows and never wanting to let nobody see me. So after finding recovery and being in long-term recovery, Brad, I know you and I have talked about this. I've always carried this burden that, I needed to share this. I needed to share this newfound, for lack of a better word, answer to this huge issue in our community. And it was 2023 when, after going to maybe like 3 funerals in 2 weeks, and all of them overdosed from fentanyl at the time, and you know, just watching the community just in denial, like nobody would even utter the word, forget about overdose, like this person was an addict or substance use disorder or anything like that. And it's one thing to know addiction. It's one thing to have an idea what an addiction is. It's a whole another thing when you're coming from a culture and a language that doesn't even have the word for it, and trying to get a hold of a concept which you don't even have a word for, itself is challenging. And, this is why I created Rahma Recovery Center, man. I, I wasn't somebody with academic background. I wasn't somebody who was a scholar in our faith, but I had something that the community needed. And that something was the lived experience of addiction and the lived experience in recovery. And this is in 2023. I sat down with a couple of my buddies. We were all truck drivers, and I brought the idea to them. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, man. But before I sat down with them, I prayed about it, man, and I asked for guidance, and I asked for, you know, just support to help me get through the challenges ahead because it was challenging. When you and I met, I had no idea. I was like a deer in a headlight, man. That place was so overwhelming, and a year later to be one of the speakers at that place, it speaks for itself, right? When we started Rahma Recovery Center, it was just to start a sober living home. But it turned into more than I thought, like every day I handle something new in the community. I've become a community activist. My phone, I have 2 phones, they're ringing all the time with people looking for answers, whether it's someone that's navigating through mental health crisis or addiction crisis. I've become a confidant for mothers who were too ashamed to talk about this subject because I was so vulnerable. Everywhere I go, I carry this message, man. As you see, I'm the proof that there's life after addiction. Everywhere I go, man, and people see that. And when they see that, they find kinship in that. 80% of our Somali communities have someone in their household who's struggling with either mental health crisis or addiction. And I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. I have so many different times that God has solidified for me that I'm on the right track. And it was December 2024 when I sold my truck and I realized that people go through life looking for their purpose. My purpose has found me. And this is something that I want to dedicate my life to.
That's amazing, man. Beautiful. You are a gift, right? And you've been a gift in my world. You've been a gift in our community. And you've just brought so much, in our community and to the individuals. You talked a lot about in your community and in the Somali community around stigma, right? Like at least what I heard, some of the underlying conversations around stigma, not having language even to describe what addiction is. Can you talk a little bit about that and what some of the unique challenges in your community, what comes with addiction, mental health challenges, and how you help people navigate through that? What are the how you help them understand and work through some of that stigma?
Let's unpack that. So first, I'm from Somalia, and we are a very, very prideful people. We're very tribal. We're prideful, and we're the type of people that we could be starving to death, and we'll feel too prideful to ask for a cup of water. So, there are very, like, when I say tribe, like families that are well known in the community, that their names are respected and have, sons and daughters who are struggling with this. From them to even the lower level families, in our faith, nobody is lower, everybody is equal, right? But, culture and tribalism leads us to that. This is what kind of started our civil war back home. Nobody ever wants to seem shameful or less than the other person. So when these struggles are happening in the household, it could be a husband who's a drunk, who's also a cab driver. It could be a son and daughter who is, abusive to the parent and also are using methamphetamine. Everybody wants to keep that in-house. I remember sharing a story with a mother. She called me to her house. I was doing an intervention for one of her younger sons. And during the intervention is when she shared the story with me where the eldest son of 4 boys, she was too ashamed to get him help. She got to a point where she was giving him the money to go buy the fentanyl. And one morning she woke up and she found him dead in his room. And she broke down. And she said, I just want to save them. I didn't know. And that day I was wearing another hoodie that says, addiction is a disease, stop the stigma. And she kept staring at my hoodie. She kept staring at it. And I saw something in her eyes that, she wants to say something. And she shared that story with us. And the whole room, I started crying, man. I started crying. And my biggest tool that I use for me when I'm doing family interventions, when I'm speaking at a community engagement groups, when we have a small group, intimate discussions with parents and like almost like an Al-Anon, right? When we're doing that, best tool that I use is my own lived experience. I literally peel like an onion, layer after layer. I share with them what I went through, how I was feeling when I was going through it, and what I found out that I'm someone with a disease called addiction. And I simplify it for them, even more simple than that. I tell them, listen, if someone has a diabetes, would you shame them? And then they say, no, I have a family member who has diabetes. Why would I shame them? And I tell them, addiction is the same thing. Why would you shame someone with a disease? A doctors will tell you it's a disease. The WHO says addiction is a disease. And right now we're at a point where even the faith leaders at the local mosques are doing sermons that addiction is a disease. It's mind blowing to see that. Where during a funeral, I want to go and speak and tell them, listen, there's nothing to hide here. And a faith leader grabbed my hand. He said, they're already dealing with enough right now. You don't need to shame them. Just imagine that, man. They just lost their son. You don't need to shame the family. I said, the only thing shameful is keeping this dark secret, thinking that a disease is something to be embarrassed about. That's the only thing shameful. And you stopping me is a shameful thing.
I remember when my brother died of an overdose, over 20 years ago, and the internalized shame that I felt. And then I remember also about how when I found my voice and was able to talk about that, and know that my brother was struggling, right? My brother had addiction, right? He had, a substance use disorder. He had a disease that he was struggling with. And there's no shame in that, right?
Absolutely
Like
not.
you're saying, right?
Yeah.
My heart goes out to you. My heart goes out to your community for
Thank you,
all
brother.
the loss that you've experienced. And just, and it seems like by you finding your voice and having that voice and taking so much honor and pride in your recovery,
Mm-hmm.
that also has empowered so many people in your
Absolutely.
community, in our community. Do you want to talk about that a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit?
absolutely. And to be honest with you, I'm not the typical Somali. I'm the son of a chief. May God rest his soul. My father passed away. We are a very prominent tribe in the Somali community. So for someone like me to actually, you know, be out there and share, this isn't the first podcast I did. I did a whole podcast in Somali. And I remember, and that podcast was a guy from England. It's called British Somali TV. And he broadcasts his stuff all over the world. So I knew he would reach all the way in Somalia, right? And my mother at the time was in Somalia. And I remember having a conversation with her. I said, Mom, I'm about to do this. And she said, okay, but I just wanted to know, what are your intentions? Simple. I just want to destigmatize this disease. She said, God be with you. Just choose your words carefully and make sure that, you don't say anything triggering or blaming people for the hurt that they're going through, because you don't know what someone is going to feel by certain words that you use. Because at that time, I was a little bit more like militant with my language. I was like, people need to wake up. I was really like, not heartless. I would never be heartless. You know me, man. But I was more like, aggressive with trying to wake people up. Like, enough is enough. We can't just keep hiding this. Right. And with that, my mother said, choose words of mercy, as your organization stands for. Rahma. The word Rahma, you see, Rahma, it means mercy in Arabic. And I chose that name for this organization because that's the mercy that I was given. by strangers in recovery. My sponsor is a Vietnam vet, a white guy, handlebar mustache, Harley Davidson rider. You know what I mean? He and I had nothing in common, but he worked me through the 12 steps in a very honest way. And he taught me more about, living life of recovery than I've even learned in treatment. 2 times I went to treatment. I finished the whole year program, had a relapse with heroin. I went back in. It was the second time was when I met my sponsor. So mercy is what I was shown along the way of my recovery journey. And this was my way of giving back to the community. So, between kind of frustrated with a lot of the pushback from getting the community in the early days of Rahma Recovery Center. And I'm a human being. My reactions was to push back, but to push back with facts and, just kind of putting people in their place like, okay, I have these facts. What are your facts of the stigma that you have? And my mom put it in really nice words. Let me remember that what I represent is mercy. And I need to be merciful for those, because you can't blame people for what they don't know. And people fear of the unknown, man.
Hearing you talk about mercy and, like empathy also makes me think about, like, when I think about you and what I, learned about you over the past number of years, I think about, like, providing connection to people and providing that, like, open arms and come in. And for me, like, that is so important. And it makes me think about, like, it makes me want to know about Rahma Recovery a little bit. And you said that Rahma Recovery started off just as a recovery house for individuals. Can you tell me a little? Can you tell me more about Rahma Recovery? What you do,
so,
like what your vision is?
We started the first. Thank you for asking that. By the way, we started the first ever culturally responsive, faith-aligned, sober living home, also known as Level 2, accredited by Walker, Level 2 recovery house. Our doors are open to everybody. We've had every faith and every culture come through that door. But the one thing that we provide is the spaces where, people from my cultural background, my faith background, usually they would feel isolated in other recovery programs. Because of something as simple as not being able to share, the kitchen with other cultures because of that no pork diet, right? We have a no pork diet in our culture. So I wanted to get a space where that is provided, but also other people can learn from us as well. Man, thankfully, when we opened that house, I remember our grand opening, we had 30 local Somali community moms were the ones that brought the food, the curtains, the blankets. Those blankets are still used in our Salam house. My work now is 20% of Salam house. Thank God to the structure that Walker gave us and the systems that they put around us that help that house run smoothly. We use, systems like the sobriety hub and commonly that helps us, keep track on recovery capital activities and things that they do, their meetings, how the payment is supposed to be made. All of that is handled to the online system. So that runs 20% of my time. The 80% of my time is advocating for people who are going through the addiction process, advocating, doing these interventions. These interventions came from out of nowhere. I swear to God, Brad, like the wisdom that I get from God to do the things that I do, you would think that I'm somebody with a PhD sometimes. I remember I was sitting in an intervention one time, and at the end of the intervention, the daughter, that she was part of the intervention, we were helping her brother. She said, "Which school did you graduate from?" said the school of hard knocks, baby. you know, it's and
I'm gonna call you Dr. Ugas from
yeah,
now
come
on,
on,
man.
man. I'm saying these things not to seem like I'm someone special. It's the open arms and the way the community has allowed me to learn from them, so I can respond to what I learned from them. Right? Each family, I put together a individual intervention for them because each family's crisis is different, right? And before I go to their house, I have an interview with like, multiple members of the family, and then that's how I put together the intervention for them. When I go sit down with them, it's something that's tailored for that family. Since we opened the Salam House, we have started a last year. So we opened September 19, 2024 is when we got accredited. We got our first brothers in that house in November 2024. It's 2 guys. By January and February 2025, we had 6 guys. Around spring and summer, we had 5 guys. 1 guy had a relapse. Those 5 guys and myself, we were part of the first project. We called it Recovery Farm Project, where by partnering up with a local community organization who do a lot of food insecurities, and they have farms, gave us a piece of land in Kent where we learned agriculture, how to grow food. Not only that, we had the opportunity to have a table at a Kent farmers market for the whole 12 weeks. Now look how God works.
That's so good, man. So good.
From that connection, Brad, just by even how we met that other organization was volunteering at their food bank. And we used to go there every Thursday, volunteer at the food bank. And one Saturday, the executive director, Shamso, the organization, by the way, is called Living Well Kent Collaborative. They are also our physical sponsor now. Helping me, like the executive director of that program is my mentor. She's so amazing. Like, man, if I could give her a community hero award, I would give her every single day, because the things that she does and doesn't even care for credit, right? We have done 12 weeks of not only, the guys, the food that they grew, selling it at the farmer's market and keeping all the proceeds. Not only that, for those 12 weeks, we have had a Narcan training table right next to our produce table. Trained 383 people on how to use Narcan.
It's amazing,
Yeah.
and just hearing this, you're not only a gift to people
Yeah.
and to the people you're helping, the interventions, the families, but Rahma Recovery is really about being a gift to the community.
Yes.
And giving back.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and we hosted our first annual as a joint Living Well Kent and Rahma Recovery Center. We hosted our first annual Overdose Awareness Day, August 30th last year, and we're gonna make this a yearly thing. And we had a blast, man. You can find in our social medias, on our TikTok and our Facebook, Instagram, you're gonna find some videos of that day. A lot of people came. We trained a lot of people how to use Narcan. But the most powerful thing was I received an email at the end of that summer. It was a lady. She said because of the training that she got on how to use Narcan, she'd never heard of Narcan before. She had a niece who had overdosed in her house, and the reason why she was living with her because her mother died from an overdose. So now it was the daughter, and she was about to die, but because of the training that she got and the Narcans that we gave her, she was able to save her life. Think about that, man. I don't care about the other 382. That one, man, was worth doing that. And I would do it over and over and over again. And I do this, like, for me, Narcan training is something that whenever I have an opportunity, my truck, I keep, the mannequin with me, and I keep Narcans with me. So sometimes I'd come out of the mosque and there'll be big crowd, and I just pop the back of my Honda Pilot, and I tell people, "Hey man, come here, let me show you how to train Narcan." And I trained like 4 or 5 people that day, maybe even more. Because I just tell them it's one thing in our faith as Muslims that it's in our scripture that if you save one life, that God will give you the credit as if you've saved all of humanity. And I use that part of that scripture, and I tell people, don't you want to save a life? And it kind of, at first people are like standoffish. Why would I want to be? I don't want to touch somebody who's using drugs. But I tell them, you're saving a life, man. Don't look at the drug. You're saving a human. And if you save a human life, that you're going to get this credit. It's in our scripture. So it's really it's for me. Rahma Recovery Center has been really. I couldn't call it just a journey, man. I see Rahma Recovery Center as part of my healing process, but also a part of gift to me, man. It has been a gift to me. I always share this with the community. I tell them, listen, God did not remove my pain. He repurposed it, and this was the purpose. This is why I went through 10 years of struggling, of just confused and lost, and, eventually ended up in homeless shelters, facing so many different court cases, and I kept getting saved. Brad, I've been through trial 5 times and was found unanimous not guilty verdict all 5 times. I was facing deportation in 2006, and the judge gave me back my green card and said, just be good. And I got shot. I was in a coma, and all the things that I went through, it was just God kind of prepping me to this man that I am today. I can't find myself doing nothing else, man. I sleep, eat, dream, wake up, Rahma Recovery Center, man. And what I mean to this community, and what this community means to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think about with what you're saying and integrating, overdose prevention training on the fly at farmers markets, talking to people about the importance of life, right? And human life. And, the thing that I always think about is, when people are like, well, that's very different than recovery. It's not, right? It's a journey, right? And if people pass away and people die, like so many people in your community, so many people I know, then they'll never have the opportunity to find recovery. And so, it's so important. It's so important. So we're coming, we only have a couple minutes left. I'm super interested. Like we never know what tomorrow brings.
Yes.
We never know what 10 minutes from now is going to bring. Luckily, this podcast has brought the two of us together for this conversation to be able to share with so many people. I'm super interested for yourself, for Dr. Hussein Ugas, doctor of doctors,
Dr. Ugas, right?
I mean, I'm all about it, man.
That's what I'm talking about. See,
I'm all about it.
Now, man, I started getting hoodies that say Dr. Ugas.
Dude, exactly. And Rahma Recovery Center, like, what's the plans, man? Like, what's next? Like, do you have some thoughts? Like, I'd love to hear a little bit about.
Thank you. I almost forgot about it. Look, man. Once again, the February 28th, we are opening our first culturally responsive, faith-aligned level 2 recovery house for the women in Federal Way as well. And we got accepted into the Recovery Cafe network. We are opening the first ever Recovery Cafe in South King County.
No way.
Yes.
For real?
Yes. Yep. We're in the cohort, man.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you have the Salam House. You're opening a women's house, and now what you're saying is you're also going to have a recovery cafe that's open for folks.
Yep.
Culturally aligned to walk in.
Yes. So the recovery cafe, not only will it be that, but it's going to be open to everybody. We're going to build the bridges between all of us underserved communities who all have underlying same issues, but are being divided by the outside noise.
Yeah.
Recovery cafe is going to be man. I have so many ideas for the recovery cafe.
Dude, I'm
So many
so excited,
wraparound
dude.
services, man. It's just things are just growing. The ultimate vision for this umbrella of Rahma Recovery Center is hopefully one day to have a crisis center where we have, cultural liaisons, interpreters, other faith organizations that can, be along the journey of from coming in with a crisis to getting into treatment, detox services, all of those things, and have that to have every culture in every language and no matter where you're from, whether you're born American, whether you're an immigrant to this country, all of us, a crisis center that has just all of these services under the same umbrella of Rahma Recovery Center, and that's our 5-year vision. God willing, we're gonna get there.
It's like, I don't know, man. You just made my like day, my week, my world. Like to hear that, you're just such an amazing individual and somebody who like sees a need and asks themselves how they can help fulfill that need
That's
for
right.
the
That's me.
community.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
that's like just so phenomenal. And we know in King County how under-resourced South King County is, and also communities of color, immigrant communities, how we don't have those culturally responsive services.
Yeah.
And so, man, just like being able to like open your arms wider and
Yes.
wider and wider to fill those needs.
Absolutely, man. And you know what? That's why I ask myself every day, right? If not me, then who?
Yeah.
Right? If not me, then who? This is what drives me because I don't see anybody else doing it, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ain't no one gonna do it,
No.
right? Like
No.
you know,
No, man.
and
You know what? God put me in this position for a reason, right?
yeah,
But our community, we're not short of scholarships, right? We have a lot of scholars. We have a lot of academia, you know. We have a lot of, business leaders, organizations, like over maybe 15 to 20 organizations here that work with the community that do phenomenal work. But God put little old me in this work and keeps blessing me and keeps guiding me, keeps giving me wisdom and vision that I never thought possible, man. I never thought this guy talking about these things that I'm honored in you, man. These weren't things that I thought about 3 years ago,
yeah,
right? Every single day, I get a new vision of how I want to improve our community,
yeah.
and it just turns out to be that exactly that day, the work that I did, it was part of my healing too. It's exactly what I needed, because man, if only thing I ever need right now, man, is 24 hours in the day is not enough. I need 8.
Well, as you said, that giving back is part of your recovery and part of your healing, and it's such a gift, as I'm sure your sponsor probably said to you while
Hmm.
working through the 12 steps. It's that giving back, right?
Yes,
And it's that continuing to connect and continuing to provide opportunities for your community that you
absolutely.
see and that we are coming against time.
Yep, no problem.
My gift to you.
Yes.
Anything else, man? Anything else you want to share before
Man, I
we,
just want to
you
let
know?
people know, man, follow us, follow our work, Rahma Recovery Center on all our platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We do have on the 28th of this month, I will send it over to Nate if he wants to put it on this podcast. Anybody is welcome. I'm going to send the RSVP to our grand opening to the Women's House in Federal Way. You're invited, my friend. We got to have everybody there, and just come join us. We're gonna have an iftar dinner. It's going to be the month of Ramadan, so we're gonna be having a nice, we get down in Ramadan, man. After we break our fast, it's gonna be a beautiful iftar dinner, community gathering. Opening the women's house, and welcome to the community. And show them another sanctuary for people who are in need. You know, anybody that's out there, man, any way that I can help, please let me know. If you know somebody that needs to get a narcan training, if you know somebody that needs a culturally responsive or faith aligned in the Muslim community recovery need, please contact us. We'll have all of our information, I guess, on here.
Man, I feel like this is a conversation we'll need to come back to
For
in
sure.
a couple months or a year and just hear about all the beautiful things that you
Yes.
continue to do. Man, on behalf of the King County Recovery Coalition, the Washington Recovery Alliance, on behalf of myself, I'm just so indebted to you for all that you do. It's been beautiful talking to you, Hussein.
For sure, my brother.
Every time I get a chance to come in contact with you, it just betters me. So I thank you for that gift.
You're very
You
welcome, my
know,
friend.
a little inside. I know David will be happy to hear that you keep the that
Yes,
you keep
sir.
the that you keep
Yeah.
the
That's my
training coming
trainer,
with me.
man.
I
David,
know,
David,
I know,
David Bauer,
I
man.
know.
Shout out to David, man. He's the one
Big
that trained
shout
me.
out to
I
David
took the
Bauer.
train the trainer course from him. But yeah,
Yeah,
man. And hopefully, you know what I'm thinking. Once we open the Recovery Cafe, maybe we'll
yeah.
do the next podcast at the cafe.
I can't wait,
Deal?
man. I'm in, dude. That
All
is
right.
like the
All
easiest
right.
deal.
All
So
right, guys.
thank you,
All right.
everybody. Hopefully this, like Hussein said, hopefully this podcast spreads throughout the world, and the gift of recovery will land with you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Again, my name is Brad Finegood on behalf of King County Recovery Coalition, Washington Recovery Alliance. This has been King County Recovery Conversations. Have a beautiful day.
Recovery
Thank you.
lives here.
Yes. Amen.
Yeah. All right, guys. Take care.
Thank you.